What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover back in another video. In today's video, I have another Ultimate GM Simulator. You are getting a 7-round mock draft in this one, and the free agency period is not going to be another 45-minute episode. That was me talking about my favorite free agents. This is going to be me actually trying to get guys that I do like, guys that I do want, and trying to get the perfect fit for the Texans to make them the best roster headed into the next season. So let's just begin. We know how this is going to end. It should have been a Seahawks Super Bowl, but um, so as you can see, it's this negative 20 million again. We are positive 2 or positive 3 in the cap space area. So I'm going to restructure Titus. I'm going to restructure Dalton and Aziz again. It's positive 6. I mean, I guess you could do Petrie, but I'm gonna restructure Petrie anyway. The four other guys that you can restructure are the guys that I truly do want us to restructure. But because the cap hit is messed up in this, I, I have to restructure Howard, Schultz, and Aziz. But just taking to note when you do watch this video, I do not want to restructure these three guys. I'd rather just leave them be. Maybe Titus, but the other two, I'd rather just let them be because they're headed into contract years. I don't know if we'll pay Dalton, and then Aziz is getting older a little bit, so I don't know how much longer he has left in the tank. Um, Titus getting older too, headed into a contract year. That's why I don't know if it'd be worth the restructure. But for cap space purposes in this one, just to get back above where we should be, um, I'm gonna have to restructure those. But the guys I truly want to restructure, I actually want to extend Daniil Hunter. I don't want to restructure him, but in this you can only really restructure him. So we're gonna restructure him in this one. Same with Nico. I think a restructure is perfect in this scenario. Him and Stingley, I think, are the perfect restructures to free up about 30 million in cap space. And then Petrie can free up 5. He's not the most expensive deal, but still 5 million is 5 million. You lose $1 if you cut Stroud. That's funny. Um, but Joe Mixon, I think, can go. I think that's the easy one of the offseason. Same with Mario Edwards. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut Jarrett Patterson in this one. I think the cap space is too valuable, and that $4 million you'd free up by cutting him would prove sufficient. Shimon Smith, I'm going to keep in this one. I think he's a valuable special teams guy. Um, Justin Watson's going to go, though. Hanson's going to go. Ended the season on IR. Scruggs is going to go. Just hasn't really done anything for us. I'm not too big of a fan. And then other than that, I think Jamal Hill might go just because of how long he spent with injury last season. Um, so I'll do that. And then Jordan, Johnny Carter, who got signed to a futures reserve deal, which basically means he's going to be a practice squad guy next year. So I think you can cut them. I'm going to keep Elijah Huzzy just because I like Elijah Huzzy. Um, so yeah, that is everyone. So we have 80 million to play with headed into the re-sign period and free agency. I'm gonna try one where I do not re-sign Ed Ingram. In this hypothetical, excuse me, he's priced out. He's too expensive for us, so we're not gonna be able to get him. Um, so what do we pan to? I think you try to bring back Jared Patterson as depth, and you probably can get him for two mil a year, and yeah, that's accepted. So you're saving a lot of money there. I think you can allocate this money towards Sheldon Rankins. If you give him around 9, is he willing to accept this? He does, so that's perfect. Um, Other than that, I think you can look to Derek Barnett, who I do a lot. 5.5, I think, would be the very fair price for Derek Barnett with how good he's been for us. That's accepted. I think you can bring back EJ Speed. So, not getting back Ed Ingram gives you a lot of flexibility with cap space. And that's accepted by EJ Speed, 85% guaranteed only. And then Miles Bryant, I think, can come back just to be another depth piece. I think he's a solid guy. That's accepted. So you're pretty much going in with 55 million, maybe. Obviously, Townsend is going to get 275 is the number that you usually agree upon with the Townsend, and I think that's really fair. And that's accepted. So you're going in with 55 and a half if you don't bring back Ed Ingram. I'm not going to bring back Trent Brown either. Uh, Maybe Harrison Bryant could be an option, but I'm just going to go into free agency like this with 55 million in the bank. I do like the idea of bringing back Ed Ingram. I think it should be a number one priority headed into the offseason. But let's say he's priced out. Let's say he finds a suitor that he really likes and we're not able to get him. Then, what do you pivot to? What do you look to in free agency? I think you have to address that. at some point because you don't know if Ed Ingram's going to be a player here next year. He did have a very successful year. I don't know if he's worth 15 million. I'd give him 12. I'd give him somewhere around that range, 12 and a half, 11. Um, but I don't think I'd go all the way up to 15. I don't think the Texans will budge on that price either. Junior Tafano got re-signed, so I guess I will re-sign him in this one. I'll give him 1.5 over 2 years, I guess, and that's accepted. So we head in with 54 million. Um, two spins, so we got a lot of flexibility here. You can see we re-signed a lot of guys. The Cardinals did not. Franchise tag on Pitts, and it looks like Mr. Linderbaum's available. Cade Mays is not. Brisker's not. But you do have the money to go spend on a big guy, a big piece, and is where are they? Nah, Brees Hall's not. It's annoying. Um, but you know who is? Kenneth Walker is available, so we'll see. But Stroud is there, so we're fine at running back. How many times is he going to be available? I don't know. I think you just got to send the bank at it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. I mean, Javonte Williams isn't even. Oh no, he is here. Um, but Kenneth Walker's got to be our guy. Um, I'll give him 8. I think that should be accepted in this, and it is. So Kenneth Walker is a Texan, just a really dynamic runner, can run the gap scheme really well. I think Woody can run the zone scheme really well, so it's a really good 1-2 punch. And then Woody can be the goal line back if you really want him to, just because of how hard he is to bring down. And then Kenneth Walker is your dynamic playmaker. He can play out the backfield, or catch out the backfield, excuse me, and then run in between the tackles, do anything you need to. From a running back, Kenneth Walker is going to be able to do for you. So yeah, I think it's a really good player. One of the best running backs in the league. If I think he's in that top 5 conversation. To be honest, that's how much I like him. Been a big fan of him for a while, even though I'm a Michigan fan. I've just really liked the way he's played for a while. Game got to recognize game at some point. You can't keep your biases. Kenneth Walker is one of those guys that I put my bias aside and just enjoy watching. So I'd love for him to be in Houston. I think the Texans should throw some money out there to him to see if it entices him enough. And he comes here or in this. So there's that. I think you could look for an RB3. And I talked about this in the free agency episode. I think Bam Knight could be a perfect RB3. I think if you give him $2 million a year, he'd be willing to accept this. And he does. So that's a perfect RB3 in my opinion. And then I guess you move over to the tight end position where you're looking for an Isaiah Likely, a Cade Otton could be a good one. I haven't seen that too many times. Isaiah Likely's here. I don't know how much he'd require. I'll try 5.5 to see if he accepts that. Obviously, it's going to be a lot more in real life. So, yeah, I don't know how much tight ends really go for in this. Sometimes there's positions that are more valuable than others. But Texans are going all in. That's the message that I'm trying to perceive right now. 7 million is not accepted, but we still have a lot of money here to play around with. I am gonna hold off though, because I do want to go get Tyler Linderbaum in this one. I think it was 16 that I was able to get him for last time, and we'll give him nearly full guaranteed, and that is accepted. So there is that. Have no guards under contract, which is great. I think Ben Barch could be one you look at. Maybe you're able to bring back Ed Ingram's. How much is Dalton Reisner going to go for? We'll try 5 to start out with. I don't think it'll be okay. It is accepted. Excuse me. And then other than that, I think you could bring in Lyle Collins, who was under Popovich for a year, I think, before he did end up eventually leaving. So we'll see if that's accepted. So we do bring it in 2 guards, and then you're going to look to obviously address guard in the draft. I think D tackle you could look at for one guy. Who is that guy going to be? Don't know. Could be the draft. Because I don't see the Sean Hand here. Someone I typically like looking after. Because I think he's a good fit in Houston. I think that could be something you really look at. Jalen Redmond's not one you see too often. So we'll try that. I think 5 would be fair for Jalen Redmond, and that is accepted. So that's another depth piece on that side. Safety, you're obviously looking to improve. Andre Cisco is one that I constantly look at. Other than that, I like Dane Belton. I think if you give him around 4 million, I think that's something he'd be willing to accept. Um, no, it's not okay. He is a younger guy, so I'll say fair on that remark. 5 maybe? No, I'll get down to 10 million for him. But I'm gonna hold off on now just in case I see any better options that I really like. Um, Marcus May still here. I think Marcus Williams could have a career revitalization over in Houston, but I think Nick Cross could be one that you look at. I think if you give him 3 million, that should be something he's willing to accept. Sorry, I'm just stupid, I guess. Um, go back and where'd he go? Nick Cross will give 4.5. That's very fair for Nick Cross. I'm not trying to go above that, but I really want to bring him in this episode. So um, maybe the guaranteed money needs to be upped, and it does. But 5 million gets across the line. I think that's fair. All things considered, and then Cisco, I think if you can bring him for like 2, he could be a very good backup safety. I don't know if he'd be willing to accept this though. No. Um, Wingard could be an interest. I think Ashton Davis could be a very good backup safety. Um, I think that's a very fair deal for him, and that is accepted. So there's that. That's a really good backup safety to bring in. Um, and then I think you've addressed everything you needed to. You could look to linebacker in this one. Um, just a depth guy like Caden Stearns. I think could be an interesting piece to bring in. Um, so we'll see if that's accepted. It is. Then you got 7 million to go to Isaiah Likely with, and see if he's willing to accept that. And I think you really just improve this roster significantly. Um, if you are able, I think I offered this though. See if a fully, yeah, it's not going to. Um, so I think Kate Otten would be the alternative. I think you could get him for around 4.5 a year. And I don't think any Texans fan would complain at that. No, you can't. I'll give him 6. Why not? This should be accepted every day of the week. Or I just don't know what I'm talking about. Um, I guess K Dalton's market is significantly higher than I thought. 7 fully guaranteed. Why not? And he does come in, so you can see the tight end room significantly improves with K Dalton there, and he is a very solid blocker. So there's that. And then you complete free agency with bringing Collins, Reisner, Davis, Stearns, Otten, Walker, and Linderbaum, as well as Cross, Knight, Redmond. And you move over to the draft where you still have your need at D tackle, you still have a need at offensive tackle, and guard as well. So that's the points of emphasis. Points of emphasis, and then you can look to a linebacker and a safety, I think potentially. But I'll see y'all over at PFF for that mock draft. All right, here we are at PFF for the mock draft. Started it, and I was gonna trade up to 23 to try to get Ione there, but he does end up going. Here at 28, I went with Christian Miller in my 7 round mock draft that y'all saw not too long ago. Seahawks want us to move back. If we're able to pick this up, if we do this, I'd be willing. I'd be so down to do this. 57% chance. Please just go through, and it does. Please tell me Monroe Freeling doesn't go, and he does not. That's the pick I wanted originally. That's the pick I'm going to get here at 32. And we do pick up number 64 to do so. So, um, Seahawks jumped the Rams in case they thought they wanted to go with corner, which they didn't go with their first round pick. So that's why that point of emphasis was made. And then other than that, I mean, the Cardinals want to move up. I mean, if you give up 69, 128, you could probably get back 104. You really could. but I'll just take and pick here. I don't want to do too many trades and conjure up too many draft picks. I'm gonna go with Monroe Freeling here. I think he could be very good at that right tackle spot for us. And I think it's a really good fit, especially for what we're doing in this mock draft where we only have Ursary really. And then Titus Howard is going to move to guard in this one. And I think you can pair him alongside a Emmanuel Pregnon in this one. I think that's an interesting pick. I'm actually going to trade down from here. I know I just talked about not wanting to trade too much, but I think moving down to 51 maybe could be an interesting spot. No, I think 42 would be best suited for me. Um, I'd have to go 132 and 37. Wow, I'd be able to get. Jeez. I'll go for this just because I don't want too many draft picks. I'll go 42 for one or 38 for 42, 132, and 137. So picking up some mid-round picks there to get some valuable guys down the board a little bit. Um, and here at this spot, I think I'm gonna trade up to 44 or something like that with 64 and 69 maybe, or 54 or 50 not no 64, 128, 132. I guess nah, you can't really. You'd have to do something like that and then get your own package. So move up 15 spots, move back 40, and then pick up two other picks. I think that's a fair deal for the Jets there. So I'll move up to 44, move out of 59 and 69, but we are going to go with Pregnon with this first pick here. Um, and then Anthony Hill goes there. I wasn't really considering him here because Lee Hunter's available, and I think that could be a really interesting piece to add to our D line. I think he'll end up being our first round pick, but um, never know. Could be a fun one to look at. Um, and you can see we addressed the trenches, which we really need to do in this draft anyway. So it's starting out really well. I think this is one of the better mock drafts you could have to start out with in Freeling, Pregnon, and Hunter. Maybe you like other offensive tackles like Ian Atcher, who just went there. Um, I really like Monroe Freeling's game, though, so I'm a big fan of the pick. Here at 64 with no Jadarian Price, I think it's a move down spot. You could go safety with Kamari Ramsey, but I think he's too similar to Kalen Bullock that it wouldn't really work here. 78's a good spot. 81's a good spot too. I think I want to move to like 74 though, or 73. Saints don't really got anything. I do this with the Bengals. Pick up 3 picks to move down 8 spots, which they're willing. And this allows me to I think I want to move up again. I think somewhere in the 70s, 76 could be an interesting spot. You go 103, 110, 132, or 175. 175 would work. I'll throw in 226 as well to just sweeten the deal. And here at 72, I think you could go with a potential tight end. I think you could go with a linebacker. I think you can go with the D line here. You could go anywhere really. But I'm gonna pull the trigger on one of my favorite running backs in this class. I think I'm gonna go with Emmett Johnson over Jonah Coleman. Actually, I don't go with Jonah Coleman nearly enough. So we'll go with Jonah Coleman. But we got no, we got Kenneth Walker already. This team's really stacked. You kind of just go best player available here that fits a position I need, and that could be Max Clare. Um, I think it's linebacker though. That we're really lacking in, and that guard position. So Jennings Dunker could be one. I'm gonna go with Chase Basantis. Screw it. I think he's a really good player. I think one of the best pass blockers in this class. So I'm gonna pull the trigger with him there, and then 2 tight ends go. I'm not really concerned about that. I think our tight end room's fine, especially with having Kate Otten moving forward. So there's that. And down here at 76, I'm gonna go with Darrell Jackson Jr. So 2 defensive linemen there. Really, really establishing the trenches here. And I don't think I'm going to make any trades until our next pick. So we're just going to skip through and I haven't seen him unless I skipped over him. No, he hasn't gone yet. Mr. Oh, I guess he did. Where did he go? Where did Bud Clark go? Was he before these picks? There's no way. I must have skipped over him by accident. Um, oh yeah, there he is at 119 to Carolina. Dang it. Well, um, it would have been nice, but can't get them all. Another safety I really like is a corner, but I think he can play safety in the NFL. I think he will end up playing safety in the NFL, especially with his size. Played some safety there or played in the box, I think, for South Carolina. Not really true safety, but I think has the potential to in the NFL. So I think that could be an interesting pick there. I am going to go with Mr. Jalen Kilgore, who I really like out of South Carolina, with my 128, and then with my 132, I think this is where you can address tight end. I think this is where you can address running back. And I think one of my favorite running backs in this class is Mike Washington Jr., so I'm going to go with him there um, to really help us out. This draft, this draft is great. Um, Here at 137, I think you could go with Coogan, who could do an instant job at guard. But I feel like you've gone with a lot of guards here already. You don't need to address offensive line anymore. It's kind of just you're having fun out there. You're picking your best player available. And I think someone who's really fun is Trey Moore. If you want a guy that can pass defend and run defend, he can definitely do that. And do a solid job for you. I think another linebacker that could do so is Harold Perkins or Kyle Lewis too. Um, we know how good Harold Perkins is, especially when he's able to be fully healthy. Kyle Lewis, another really good guy at linebacker too. I think could uh, fly up the boards a little bit throughout the draft process. But I'm going to go with Harold Perkins and his athleticism here at 137. I think that could be a very fun one. And then here at 178, I think Cole Brewer could be fun. Um, but I think we're pretty stacked everywhere. It's kind of just what do you want to do here. Um, Cole Wisniewski could be nice. We haven't gone with the safety yet. And I think he's a guy that can play that strong sided safety. So I'm going to go with him down the board at 178. I think that's a really good pick. I really like that fit there. And then wait till pretty much the end of the draft to go at 243 and 244. I think you could go backup quarterback here. Athan Kaliakmanis is one that stands out to me, and that's who I'm probably going to go with here. Um, just because Sawyer Robertson went somewhere, or Luke Altmaier, sorry. Um, and Sawyer Robertson, actually, now that I think about it, he's not available. Where did he go? Did I, Josh Cameron? Oh, he went at 206 to the Rams, who actually have our sixth round pick, which is funny. But Kelly McManus, I think, could be a decent backup quarterback for the Texans. I think that's going to be a preseason showout. Just a fun one. And then with my last pick in the draft, I am going to go with a backup edge. I think just to provide some depth there, I think could never hurt. I'll go with Kieran Crawford in this one, I guess. Has some decent sack production there, really good pass rusher, not the oldest either. So, decent one to end the draft there. And that concludes this video. Let me know what y'all think about the draft and the free agency down below. They say it's a good looking draft, but they only gave me a B. So there's that. But yeah, let me know what you think about this draft down below in the comment section. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. And as always, it's Texas Takeover, and I'm out. Thanks again for watching. Peace.